guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. So in April was the Owl's Magical Readathon. So I was planning on reading 12 books and I ended up reading 17. I don't know how that happened either. I'm surprised. Let's just go ahead and get into this because this is going to be a very long video. So the first book that I read in April was Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is the third book in the Hunger Games trilogy. Now the main reason that I wanted to read this was, number one, it was the only book that fit for the herbology prompt, which was to read a book that starts with an M, obviously Mockingjay, so this fit for herbology. But also, the prequel novel is coming out in May, and I really wanted to be able to read that as soon as it came out. I'm kind of nervous for that because I hate President Snow with every fiber of my being, but we'll see what I think of that. But I really enjoyed this book. I love the setting. I can't tell you where it's set in case you haven't finished the series. It's a spoiler. I loved the setting. I love all of the characters. That one character with the parachutes at the end, that didn't need to happen. It broke me and I was sobbing. But I love this book so much. I think this is my second favorite book in the series after Catching Fire. I love the series as a whole. It is so good and I love myself a good dystopian. I read this during my 24-hour readathon and I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read, I listened to an audiobook, and that is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is also the third book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, and I'm honestly really proud of myself because I finished a bunch of series this month and it felt great. But anyways, so I listened to this also during my 24-hour readathon and I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as the first 2 books, but I didn't hate it like a lot of people did. I feel like I didn't really pick up on everything because I was listening to it on audio, but I still definitely enjoyed this and I gave this 4 stars. I think I gave both of the first 2 books 5 stars or 4.5 stars, I think. But I really enjoyed this. Overall, I think it was a good conclusion to the series, and I want a spin-off series about Vivian and Heather. Please, can we have that? Holly Black, I need that in my life. And this was for the prompt Defense Against the Dark Arts to read a book set at the sea or the coast. The next book that I read, I also read during my 24-hour readathon, and that is The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper. This is a YA contemporary romance, and it follows... So this follows Cal, who is a social media person. I don't really know how to explain it. He does live shows on this app and does he lives in New York at the beginning of this novel, and he does updates for news around New York and the Brooklyn area, and he has a huge following and he loves doing this and he wants to work at BuzzFeed. And then he goes home and his dad tells them that he has applied to become the last astronaut to a mission on Mars. And what they didn't know is that he would actually get the job, and then they have to relocate to Houston. And I love this book so much. It was so cute. It was so quick to read, and I just love this. It's a blurb by Becky Albertalli, and that's really the main reason I wanted to read this, because Becky Albertalli. But yeah, I really love this book and I give it 4 stars simply because I didn't fully connect the characters, and this was for the prompt for arithmancy to read a book outside of your favorite genre. The next book I read was the last book I read during my 24-hour readathon, and I actually reread Heartstopper Volume 2. So this is a graphic novel series following Nick and Charlie as their friendship slowly turns into a romance, and I love this series so much. It just makes me smile, and yes, Volume 2 is definitely my favorite volume. You can see I heavily annotate these. I am obsessed with them. Okay, just look at that face. It's too cute. Obviously, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and I read this for astronomy. Read a book while it was dark outside. Next, a book that I read in April was Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. The magical realism fantasy thing. Okay, so in this book, we follow Nancy, and she has just come back from her portal world, a couple years ago, she found a portal and she went through and she went to the Halls of the Dead, and she loved it there, and then she got kicked out and had to go home. So this follows her at Eleanor West Home for Wayward Children, and so this home is basically for the kids who come back from the portal world and need help coping, and maybe they will find their portal again. And while she is at this school, murders start happening, and oh my god, this book was so good. I love this series. If you have not picked this up already, I highly recommend it. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. I just loved the magic and the characters and the whimsy and found family aspects, and it's just so good, and it has a lot of representation. There is asexual, transgender representation. I don't really know if there's anything else. I can't think of it right now because I read so many books this month, but yes, I really love this, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend to go read this. Next book I listened to on audiobook, and I listened to Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. So I started this in my 24-hour readathon, but I did not finish this, and set a readathon. I liked this book. So in this book we follow Audrey Rose, who wants to be a mortician alongside her uncle, and one day she dresses up as a boy and goes to one of his anatomy classes and meets Thomas Cresswell, who then starts helping Audrey and her uncle. And then the Jack the Ripper murders start happening, and they go and investigate, and the ending, I was not expecting the ending. I know a lot of people say that this series is really predictable, but it was not predictable at all for me. I definitely did not guess the ending. Also, it's a really nice floppy paperback, and it has some images throughout, if I can only find one. Yeah, so they have like images of London, showing like where they were. I love this book. I didn't give it 5 stars. I give it 4 stars simply because I don't know. It didn't feel like a 5-star read, but I really like the series, and I'm definitely going to be continuing. I've heard that this is the best book in the series, so hopefully the series is better than this one for me, because I give this 4 stars and I want 5-star reads. But I highly recommend this if you're into mystery, thriller, horror-esque things. After I read this book, I watched, like literally that night after I finished it, I was watching Criminal Minds with my dad and my brother, and it was an episode where someone was copying Jack the Ripper, and I was like, well then. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. And this was for the prompt of Muggle studies, to read a book through the eyes of a Muggle. The next book I read was a buddy read with Lily, and that is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I read this for the Transfiguration prompt, to read a book that includes shapeshifting. I loved this book. Okay, so this book follows Tessa Gray, and she moves to London, and then the Shadowhunter world meets her there, and it is so good. I read like majority of this in a day. I think I was like on page 160, and then I finished it. Like, this book is so good. Lily actually hasn't finished it this month, but yeah, I love this book so much. There are so many good quotes, so many lovely, cute scenes. Jim is my child. I freaking love him. I gave it 4.5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it a full 5 stars is because the beginning was a little bit slow for me, and it took me a while to get into the story, but once I was in there, I was in, and there was no getting out of it. The next book was another audiobook, and that was A Torchic and Snipe by Saba Tahir. This is the second book in the Number in the Ashes series. I don't know if it's a quartet or not. I think this is a quartet, but there might be a 5th book. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. So in this series, we follow Laya, who is a scholar, and in this world, scholars are looked down upon and are kind of like the slaves, or like the peasants of this world. And then we also follow Elias, who is a soldier, and he is at Blackcliff Academy learning to be a mask, which is like the highest, which is like their soldiers. And so, but he doesn't really stand for what the soldiers and the like leaders believe in, and so he wants to rebel. So they are both trying to rebel against the kingdom, and it is so good. This is loosely based on Roman Empire, and I really love this. I really liked this. I didn't like it as much as the first book, but I liked the travel aspect. While I was listening to this, I got major Children of Blood and Bone vibes, and while I was reading Children of Blood and Bone, I got major A Torchic and Night vibes because I had started this when I read Children of Blood and Bone, and I really like this. I love the magic system. I love the eeriness, but I really enjoyed this, and I give it 4 stars. The next book I read was Darius the Great is Not Okay by Abdib Quran. This was for a reading rush prompt to read a book with a house on the cover, and I really enjoyed this book. So I teared up at the end of this book. I listened to it on audio, and I love this book. So we follow Darius, who is an Iranian American, and he then goes back to Iran because his grandfather has a tumor, and there's actually a sequel coming out to this book, which I did not know about, but I'm really excited to read that. And he kind of struggles fitting in with either of his cultures, and he also has depression, so there's depression representation in there, and I love this book so much. I love the friendships and the family dynamics, and I learned a lot about Iranian culture. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars, and I read Beauty and the Beast by Jessica Gunderson. This was for, I read this for potions class to read a book under 150 pages. I got this arc from NetGalley. This comes out on August 1st, and I loved this book. It was super cute. It's just a Beauty and the Beast retelling with diverse characters. So all of Belle's family in this retelling are POCs, and I really enjoyed it. It was so cute. I loved like the little beast. He was cute, and I'm really glad I read it. It took me like 10 minutes to read, but it was super cute. And at the end, this is a children's book, so at the end it has like a DIY and discussion questions and questions for the parents to ask their children about the book. Super cute, and I really liked it, and I give it 4 stars. Next book I read is also an arc, and it was also a graphic novel, and that was Eat and Love Yourself by Sweeney Boo. This is a magical realism graphic novel about eating disorders and loving yourself, and I loved this. It was super cute. I love the art style. There was a cat, and I like cats. So I really enjoyed that. I didn't know it was gonna be magical, so I was kind of like iffy about that aspect. Like, it was good, but I just wasn't expecting it. So I give this 4 stars. I really recommend it, and this is already out now. It came out on the 21st of April. Recommend go and get yourself a copy however you can and read this because it was really sweet and is going to be so important for a lot of people. The next book I read was Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire, the second book in the Wayward Children series. This one follows Jack and Jill as they find their door to the moors, and it was good, and I loved it. And I read this for the Reading Rush challenge of reading a book set in a place you want to go, and I loved this. It was so good. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I really don't know what else to say. Read this series. Next book I read was another audiobook, and that was A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. So I was reading this for the Reading Rush challenge to read a book set in a place you want to go, and for History of Magic, read a book with witches or wizards. And I didn't actually finish it during the Reading Rush, so it didn't really count for the Reading Rush, but I enjoyed this. It follows Elizabeth, who is training to be a warden of the magical libraries, and in these magical libraries, the books are grimoires, and if they have like classes, so like the level 1s aren't dangerous at all, and then the level 10s are super dangerous, and if they're set free, they will go on a rampage and kill everyone in this kingdom. And I enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobook, so I don't think I enjoyed it to its fullest potential, but I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did not mesh with the writing style. The writing style was not for me. I didn't really connect to the characters, and it was just like not that great for me. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm actually going to be unhauling this because I'm definitely not going to be rereading it. And then the next book was another reread, and I reread Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, and I read this for Care of Magical Creatures to read a book with a beak on the cover. And as you can see, there's a fox here, and it has a beak on the cover, and I loved this. Harry Potter, duh. I was buddy reading this with Lily, and then I just finished the entire thing in my 24-hour readathon that I did. Lily said it was fine, so it's fine. Yeah, I annotated this. I didn't annotate like the second half that much, but I really enjoyed this. Gave it 5 stars because Harry Potter nostalgia. The next book I read is a graphic novel, and I read Fence Volume 1 by C.S. Pacat. I really enjoyed this. So this is a graphic novel series about a fencing school, and I didn't love this as much as a lot of people did, although there's definitely a romance brewing, and I'm excited for the other volumes. I give this 4 stars. I learned a lot about fencing, which is really cool. I just didn't really fully connect to the story, but I'm definitely going to be continuing in the series. I just might not buy all of the volumes, but yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. So, the second to last book that I read in April was another audiobook, and I listened to Girls of Storm and Shadow. I read the first 100 pages of this physically, and then I listened to like the last 300 pages on audio. I really enjoyed this. I didn't like it as much as the first book, but I liked the travel, and I liked seeing all of the clans in this world, and this romance. I love this. It was good. And I gave this 4 stars. Again, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book, and I definitely missed out on a couple of things just because I listened to an audio while I was playing Animal Crossing, but I enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars, and if you have not read the series, please read it. It is so good. Finally, the last book that I read in April is not surprising to you. I read Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna Maguire. 5 out of 5 stars. 3rd book in the Weird Children series. Love this series so much. I have In an Absent Dream right here, and I'm dying to read it. Yeah, I love this book. It is good. You should read this series. How many times did I have to tell you that? Although the only thing about this one is the timeline kind of confuzzled me, but it makes sense once I got into it. The synopsis, if you have not read the first book, don't read the synopsis for this one. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I give this 5 out of 5 stars because I love the characters and I love this world, and this cover is so stunning. Those are the 17 books I read in April. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are, and I will see you on my next one. Bye. Thumbnail time. Pumpkin pie. Thumbnail time, pumpkin pie.